Hey guys, welcome to the review and results show for the February 15th, 2023 edition of AEW Dynamite. My name is Dan, and I review each and every AEW show, everything from Dark Elevation to all their pay-per-views. So if you missed the show, you want a quick recap, or you enjoy watching all the shows and you want a place to talk all things AEW, you can do so right here. So please go right below this video, click that like button, that subscribe button, every notification bell, because it let you see past, present, and future reviews that I do, but also allows others to find my channel. And without any further ado, let's get to the review. Dynamite begins with a wonderful tribute to Jarrett, who passed away, and Jeff Jarrett, being an absolute incredible person, an amazing professional, decided to go out for his match this week, where he teams up with Jay Lethal, Satnam, Singh, and Sonjay Dutt to take on Orange Cassidy, the Acclaimed, and Daddy-Ass Billy Gunn. And as always, we gotta dive into these Max raps, where he called Jeff Stat a legend, but him a douchebag. He took a shot at the Ass Boys, made a reference to TNA Lockdown, and said that they're going to get their titles back. This was very tame for him, but it was also very good. I always appreciate a good TNA reference. Speaking of the Ass Boys, it did make an appearance in this one, standing on the rampway. And Billy Gunn, he's in absolute phenomenal shape, and I'll always marvel a guy at his age, staying at the shape that he's in. He just doesn't age, and he's in better shape than a lot of wrestlers going around today. And the match was pretty solid as well. Nice little back and forth. A lot of fun stuff happening, especially with that ending sequence with everybody trying to do the Sister B Timbers getting to the middle rope, but continuously getting interrupted. But ultimately, it is Anthony Bowens who does it and picks up the win for their team, as the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn stare down the Guns on the rampway. We then go backstage after Bryan Danielson's match last week, and he talks about Max's actions being the actions of a scared and desperate man. Says that nobody can go 60 minutes quite like he can. Nice solid promo here, especially considering he's all bloodied up in this picture here, channeling his inner Bruiser Brody. I love it. And more on this feud in a bit. Back in the ring, and it's Danielson's Blackpool Combat Club members, Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli, taking on La Facción and Gobernables, Roosh, and Preston Vance in a Texas Tornado tag match. This started off hot with Moxley and Claudio not even being able to finish up their entrance, as Roosh and Preston attacked him right off the bat. Things, though, did finally make their way over towards the ring, and this was a fun one. It had a bit of everything. It had Vance being thrown into chairs that were set up in the corner. You had Preston spearing Moxley through the ropes onto both Roosh and Claudio. Then you had Preston beating down on Moxley with the chain. Claudio would then return the favor on him for that. Mox was busted open. Preston was busted open. It was brutal. It was an absolute war here, and it ended the only way a match like this can, and that's by Moxley using the chain to choke out Preston in a submission to pick up the win for his team. After the match, we'd see backstage Kip, the Butcher, and the Blade all going after Hangman. We'll see how this affects him later on in the show. We then go to a sit-down interview where J.A.S. is talking with Wardlow, and Wardlow has a very emotional story about his father, and talks about how at a very young age he instilled a lot of positive things within him, but unfortunately he was estranged from him for a long time. And when he finally came back, he found out he had stage 4 cancer, and he decided to grow out his hair, decided to grow out his beard in tribute to him once he died. And this is something Joe knew, but decided to cut off his hair anyway. I like this a lot, because instead of Wardlow getting mad at the fact that, oh, he just cut off my hair, so now I'm going to kill him. No, there's some intensity here. There's some layers to this feud now, and I cannot wait to see Wardlow finally get his revenge. After that, we go back to the ring as Mark Briscoe going up against Josh Woods. I am so happy that we're continuing to see Mark Briscoe on AEW television. That match against Jay Lethal wasn't just a one-off, and we would get even further confirmation of that after this match, as Mark Briscoe did get that All Elite graphic, which is so fun to see. I'm pretty sure he was already signed though, but this is probably adding on, competing on the AEW brand as well, so that's a lot of fun. More chances to see Mark Briscoe, I am all here for. Later on this match, we would see Ari Daivari and Toni Nese try to get involved here, but we see the triumphant return of the Lucha Bros helping out Mark Briscoe. I think that could be a fun little trio if that's something they decide to do. that would allow us to see some redneck kung fu as only Mark Briscoe can do. He even used a chair to springboard himself over the top rope onto Josh Woods on the outside. Josh Woods looked good as well as he did his rolling German suplex, running knee to the face of Mark, but Mark's resiliency is just too large as he hits the froggy bow onto Woods for the win. He is so much fun. He's already super over with the crowd. His facials are captured in every single shot, and I absolutely love it. We have another sit-down interview, and this time Renee Paquette is sitting with Adam Cole, baby, and he talks about how happy he is, how important it is to celebrate the little things that he can now do, things that he doesn't have to worry about anymore, which is awesome. Talks about the roster being really stacked, and he has a few ideas on who he wants to face, but he's not going to give it away quite yet. Honestly, I'm just happy to see him back in the ring. See him being 100% is awesome. Huge Adam Cole fan, so whoever he faces, and whether we find out at Revolution or beforehand, I'm sure it's going to be a banger of a match. Then it's MJF, who's contractually obligated to appear on tonight's Dynamite, had an in-ring promo where he talked a lot about Bryan Danielson and goes over all the reasons why the crowd loves him so much and how they think he's better than him, but also reminds him to be the best in the world, you have to be the AEW World Champion, which MJF is. He does put him over, though, by saying Bryan's going to put him in the hardest match he's ever been in his life, but after 60 minutes are up, it's going to be him that's going to be victorious. But then MJF calls down to the ring Christopher Daniels, who has a history with Danielson, and asks him to tell everybody the truth about Bryan Danielson. And this is where Christopher Daniels admits to everybody that MJF tried to pay him off to talk bad about him. He then talks about Danielson winning a match back in 2001, said that match helped to start the creation of ROH, which then would lead to AEW, which would then lead to MJF being in the position that he's in, and that MJF is everything that Bryan Danielson is. Oh man, this was so good. This would lead to some words being exchanged. Daniels smacking MJF in the face, and then of course, MJF taking the low road, kicking Daniels in the dick, and then putting him in the salt of the earth. Danielson would then come out for the save. This was so good. I love seeing Daniels in the spot as well, reminding everybody just how good he is. After a video package hyping up the women's triple threat main event, we see the Gunns, and they talk about all the concerns that the fans have about them, and that this isn't real life, that not every story is going to have a happy ending, and that at Revolution, it's going to be the Gunn show, which at this point in the show makes me think that this is where the Acclaimed is going to get their rematch, and this could be a one and done for the Gunns. This is where they lose, or maybe they continue on, but there's going to be more about this, a huge development later on in the show. After that is Brian Cage versus Jack Perry, and this match started off hot with Jack going right after Cage, even trying to do one too many topes, getting caught in the third one, getting slammed down on the ground in the process. I love this pairing because Jack is always going to bump like crazy for his opponents, and he's very easy for Brian Cage to get thrown around, so that really helps. And then you have Jack Perry, who is the perfect underdog baby face for Brian Cage to go up against. But it is Jack Perry who ends up picking up the win by rolling him up. It's not a definitive victory, but it does show that Jack Perry is ready for a title shot and also protects Brian Cage a bit here. But we hear some music that we haven't heard in quite some time, and that's the music of Christian Cage. Jack Perry goes down to confront him. Unfortunately for him, Christian Cage had some mace up his sleeve, maces Jack in the face, puts him into a kill switch because apparently his arm is perfectly fine. It looks like we're going to pick up where we left off with this feud and probably carry it on at least until Revolution. We then go backstage where Renee has a special announcement regarding those tag team titles I was talking about earlier, and says that there's going to be a triple threat at Revolution, and to determine who's going to be in that triple threat next week, it's going to be a traditional Revolution Battle Royal, and in 2 weeks there will be a Casino Battle Royal, and the winners of those matches will go on to face the Gunns at Revolution. And in comes in the Acclaimed, who invoking their rematch clause, so it looks like it's going to be a fatal four-way instead of a triple threat. Who are going to be the other two teams? Maybe Top Flight, maybe a returning FTR. I'm really excited to see who exactly it is. This time it's the Elite who are backstage talking about the NBA All-Star Game and how close it's going to be. In comes in AR Fox and Top Flight, talk about how close they were to winning those trios championships, and they challenged them to a match to run it back. But as Kenny is about to accept, Don Callis says, "You lost, go back to the line." But in the very middle of this, the most newsworthy portion of this, you get this still image right here of the House of Black. So everybody just calm down, calm down. It's happening. We're going to get the Elite versus the House of Black, even though I feel like we should have gotten Eddie Kingston versus the House of Black already. I guess maybe they dropped that for some reason, and we're going to go right into the House of Black versus the Elite, and I cannot wait for that. As far as the rest of this promo, sounds like they're going to run things back on Rampage with the Elite defending their Trios Championships against AR Fox and Top Flight. Back in the ring, and this time it's Hangman Adam Page taking on Kip Sabian. And I love seeing Kip in this spot, especially the fact that they referenced the last match that they had together a couple of years ago. I'm also a huge fan of his because it's obvious how hard he's been working to get better in and out of the ring, and he looked great in this match, at least when he was in control. I love that little springboard that he does, but he did take a lot of punishment in this one, got thrown around on the outside. Penelope tried to help out with it, but to no avail. Hangman hits him with the Deadeye and gets the win here. After the match, though, Mox, Wheeler, and Claudio come out to confront him, say that he has his number and there's no chance he's ever going to beat him. And Hangman responds by saying, "Look, you know, I wasn't satisfied with how that ended. You weren't satisfied with how that ended. The only way this feud can end is at Revolution." And Mox is trying to say, "Look, you don't have any friends to talk you out of making bad decisions," referencing the fact that facing him again would be a bad decision. And out walks the Dark Order, who Hangman tries everything he can to try to get them to stay out of it, but they're not having this at all. Evil Uno gets right in Mox's face as he's not afraid of him whatsoever. And when it looks like Mox is like laughing about it, saying, "Haha, this guy isn't afraid of me," and then he pushes his face away, and that's when Mox gets serious. That's when Mox is like, "Okay, we're gonna do this then," and then says, "At Revolution, it's going to be a Texas death match," which I fully expect the Hangman to be victorious there. But in more recent news, it's going to be Evil Uno versus Jon Moxley next week on Dynamite. Backstage again, and this time Toni is standing by with the J.A.S., and Chris Jericho says that Ricky is never going to get another match with him, says that the first one that he got over him was a fluke and that he's not on his level. Garcia then reminds us that Ricky has a match with him on Rampage, and he's going to prove to everyone that he's an absolute fraud. This match should be a lot of fun. Backstage one last time on this show, and Tony's now standing by with the firm, and Stokely says that Hook should be fired for what he did to him, and that's when Tony Schiavone gets word that Tony Khan has indeed suspended Hook pending investigation. Stokely would then try to fist bump Ethan Page, and what we figure what was going on is that Stokely is faking this injury in order to send Hook away. We'll see how long that lasts. It's time for the main event and the much anticipated triple threat between Toni Storm, Ruby Soho, and Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D. And before the match, we would see Toni Storm and Saraya go right after a fan holding a Saraya sign. Fortunately, Ruby does come out to stop things, but doesn't go after them initially, so that is a huge selling point of this match, trying to see where exactly Ruby Soho's allegiance lies. And Ruby is very careful, though, throughout this entire match, not picking either side but her own. Anytime there's a chance for a double team, she tries to shy away from it, while also attacking both of the women. Outside of that storyline, though, this was a great match. Britt Baker had a hell of a combination of moves, taking out both Toni and Ruby. Later on, Toni and Britt will be beating the hell out of each other. Surprisingly, when Toni had Ruby in the cloverleaf, Britt Baker locked in the lockjaw, or at least tried to, before Saraya broke things up here. You had Toni going after Jamie, while Saraya went right after Britt. Again, not touching Ruby here. Saraya then spray painted Toni's ass and hit Britt Baker with the hip attack in the corner. Very nice. Then Ruby throws Toni onto Saraya, who then rolls up Britt and gets the win here. Saraya would come face to face with her, wondering what she's doing, wondering where her allegiance is. Yeah, Jamie Hayter getting in there, Saraya pointing at the Revolution sign, which is where I think this is going, because after the match is over, we see Ruby Soho really interested in the fact of potentially being AEW Women's Champion. I was really surprised that there was no real story progression here outside of Ruby being interested in the AEW Women's Championship, but maybe that's where the turn happens at Revolution, and that's when Ruby Soho becomes AEW World Champion, and honestly, that's probably the most exciting part about all of this for me. And that was AEW Dynamite. What did you guys think about it? Please let me know down in the comment section below. Matches of the night for me, certainly that main event, because not only the physicality of it, but the storyline behind it as well, and of course, it's always great to see Mark Briscoe. With that said, if you did enjoy this review, please click that like button, that subscribe button, and notification bell, because always that let you see past, present, and future reviews that I do, but also allows others to find my channel. And thank you guys once again for checking out this review, and thank you guys for being all elites.